Gang, are you a fan of podcasts and Law & Order SVU? Well, I have the show for you. The seminal SVU podcast, Munch My Benson, is the twisted love child of co-hosts Adam Schwitters and Josh Dugan, celebrating the splendid and often wildly inappropriate lunacy found only on Law & Order SVU. Each week, Adam and Josh walk you through a random episode of SVU, all while sharing their smart and hilarious insight. Find Munch My Benson wherever it is you stream podcasts, or go to munchmybenson.com for more info. That's Munch My Benson. Let's get down. Attention Austin guitarists, are you in need of setup or repair on your axe? Well, I have the guy for you. That's Jason Swedberg over at J. Scott Luthery. Find him at J. Scott Luthery on Facebook. Gang, I've been taking my guitars to Jason for over 20 years, and not only does he do the best job, he's also got the best prices and the fastest service in town. That's J. Scott Luthery on Facebook or jason.swedberg@gmail.com. Gang, whether it's acoustic, electric, or bass, Jason Swedberg is your guy. Find him at J. Scott Luthery. Get your guitars fixed and let's get down.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here is your host,
All right, hello, I'm Johnny. I'm your host. Welcome to the show, a marathon week of shows. 5 shows in 5 days. Johnny goes nuts and talks to everyone about everything. Guys, I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're safe. And most of all, I hope you're sane. I find that most people are able to stay healthy throughout this thing, but it's the side effect of staying healthy seems to be the price of your own sanity, the loss of your own sanity. You know what I'm saying? The cost of your own sanity. So be good to yourself. Remember remember there's a lot of energy going on in the world, and remember that you're part of that world. And at this time, in this juncture of our lives, it's a good time to be good to yourself, to others, and just remember that you're a part of a bigger picture. And we all play a role in it. And taking care of ourselves and staying sane and healthy during this time is sort of paramount to making all of that work. So start with job one. Take care of yourself. Stay sane and stay healthy. Did I kind of sound like, did I just, like when I said stay sane and stay healthy, did I sound like Casey Kasem? Because I swear to God, I thought I was Casey Kasem when I was saying that. Guys, I have a great show for you today. I am not Casey Kasem, and neither are my guests. Monte Warden and the Dangerous Few are dropping a brand new album this Friday, June 13th. This is their debut album. If you live in Austin and you go on Thursday nights, like I do many Thursday nights, going to see Monte Warden and the Dangerous Few playing this beautiful, beautiful, traditional American pop music. Like, it's almost like songs from the American songbook, but they're new. It's pretty amazing. Monte Warden joins us with his wife, Brandi Warden, who is his co-writer on a lot of these songs and the co-producer of this record. This record, Monte Warden and the Dangerous Few, was produced by Tim Palmer, Brandi Warden, Erik Telford, and Mas Palermo, the drummer of Monte Warden and the Dangerous Few. It was recorded live in 2 days at Arlyn Studios here in Austin. I mean, this is, and this record, like everything was recorded live. Like the vocals weren't recorded on their own or whatever. This is a live performance of a band. This is capturing magic. My favorite thing about being in music is capturing magic. And that's what this record is, like a testament of capturing the magic of Monte and Brandi Warden and all of their collaborators. Great songwriting. And then Monte Warden and the Dangerous Few, a band that has been working it out for the last few years, weekly, working out these songs live, getting it together. You know, like why With the Beatles is such an awesome record when the band's playing their ass off. It's because they spent all this time in Hamburg being a band together. And that's what these guys have done on the stage at the Continental Club Gallery every Thursday. I've been witness to it. I am not exaggerating, probably 20 times. I love them. Monte Warden and the Dangerous Few. Monte is one of my favorite people. I think the day after or 2 days after we did this interview, I went to the post office and we were both walking up at the same time, and I was wearing a mask, and I thought he wouldn't know who I was, but he told me before I took my mask off, I know who you are. Let me tell you something. Monte and Brandi are wonderful people. They make amazing music, and this record is incredible. Do yourself a favor, Friday. Go buy it. Download it. I think there's vinyl copies of it. Yes, just go to thedangerousfew.com and get yourself a vinyl copy of it and listen to these people on wax. The way this music was meant to be heard. I don't want to sound like a 51-year-old guy yelling at people. Anyway, without further ado, please welcome my dear friends, wonderful people, amazing talents, Monte and Brandi Warden. Let's get down.
There's a blend that's blown up, coast to coast for all the grown-ups, whose name epitomizes swank and class. Martini, served in its proper glass. No, cold beer or hot toddy makes you feel like you're
Great,
somebody.
man. Everything's just amazing. No, I've been good. I've been keeping it together. I feel like I keep myself as busy as possible in trying to move forward in this time. What about you guys?
Exact same thing. We've been getting ready for the release of the album, which is June 19th, and that's, taking all of our time. And I've been doing that Friday live stream, and that's been very successful. And it keeps us busy a lot through the week because there's just a lot of prep work to putting on a show in your house, as you know.
Yeah. I did a few. How long have you been doing it now?
Friday will be the 11th one. Yeah.
Wow.
So since March, no.
There's an interesting question I've been asking people because I feel like in one way it does like satiate fans, like it gives them a chance to see you because you've been playing weekly and like twice weekly for a while now. So you're part of people's routine,
Yeah.
But do you feel, because this is the one thing that I was feeling about it, I didn't know if I was reaching as many new people as just like kind of having the same crowd. I do have to say sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying we've had so many more people and new people. And, and one thing that I had lost sight of is it's World Wide Web. So,
right.
What? This is how I find this out. So it's not just the people that we can cram into the Broken Spoke or the Continental Club Gallery, but it's people from all over. So our reach and breadth has been far greater than I ever would have anticipated. And I'll tell you something else, Johnny. I'm going to keep doing these live streams until, as long as people are still interested. There's no reason not to do them because it's such a difference in audience than the other people that I, reach weekly here in Austin.
Yeah. And you guys, you said you played on Friday at the Broken Spoke?
We sure did.
How did that go?
Man, it was great. I mean, they're 25% capacity. So, normally the Wagoneers put like 600 people in the Broken Spoke. But
right.
For those of, people that don't know about the Spoke, it is very easy to socially distance.
Sure.
It's easy to spread out. You can.
When you're at 25% capacity.
Yeah, 25% capacity. People could have their own tables, and we noticed families were pretty much sticking together. But because it's an older crowd and they're predominantly couples, people were dancing. But I noticed that the same people were dancing with each other, like husbands and wives were dancing with each other. Whereas at a Texas dance hall,
right,
people will just dance with everybody. There wasn't that moment.
Okay, but it felt good to get out, I bet, and play.
Oh man, and the four of us, the Wagoneers, we hadn't seen each other since the whole thing started in early March. So it was just great to see each other. I thought we'd have to knock some rust off.
Yeah.
No, the guys' chops were incredible. I think we were so excited to actually just be playing that that we sounded. I think we sounded probably better Friday than we would 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, there's also just that excitement of getting how long because I noticed this is the longest since I became like a musician that I haven't played a gig at a place.
Right.
Last gig I played was Friday, March 13th. And this is by far the longest since I was like 20 years old. It's a long time.
Right. No, it is. It what's so funny is that I experienced is where the live streams have sated part of that for me is it's not just the financial thing. It's that spiritual connection you have of just being in a room with people that are joyous. Yeah. And so that was nice at the Spoke to experience that.
Yeah. And I bet people were happy to see you.
It was such, I'll tell you what, man, it's like, how many gigs have I played? I don't know, thousands, literally thousands. That was a gig like no other. There was so much joy and fellowship and brotherhood of man in that room that I'll never forget Friday at the Spoke at 25% capacity. It was incredible. Yeah.
Well, that's good, man. Well, Monte, I'm a fan of The Dangerous Few. I go there whenever.
Johnny Gowdy.
Yeah. Well, man, I'm so excited that you guys made this record, and then it was also so the stuff that you sent me is so thorough that I feel like I've almost experienced it with you guys. And one of the things that I found, which I expected you guys to do, I wouldn't expect you to make some piecemeal album, but like the fact that you did it in 2 days, all live, just, I mean. The playing on it that's the way you guys are at the Continental Club. I mean, at the gallery, that's you captured it, dude. That's what I'm trying to say. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Well, let me say this. Thank you, first of all. But it kind of would have been bullshit if we had made the record any other way, It had to be live, And I think like when we brought in Tim Palmer to co-produce it,
Thought we threw him a bone.
Yeah, give Tim Palmer a big favor by letting him produce The Dangerous Few.
Gave him a good break.
Yes.
Much needed.
We just said it's going to be all live. We're going to do it all at once. I'm doing my vocals live.
I was going to say, a lot of people say we cut everything live, and they mean even just tracking. But of course, we're doing the vocals later. We cut everything live. Vocals were going down live. It was just, we're going to run through this song and see what we got. And that was just it. We would just do takes.
But there's no editing of takes. But the cool thing is, like, the longest it took to get something, I was thinking one song took 4 takes. Most songs were 1 or 2 takes. Right. But
you were talking about Tim. I stepped on the
No. That's okay, baby.
That's enough.
But like when because Brandi had been to hundreds of these gigs. When we were in the studio, Johnny, she knew, but like there were several instances, 4 or 5 instances where I thought we nailed it, or Palermo thought we nailed it, and Brandi just knew she had heard better at the gallery, and she said, "I can't listen to this record knowing there was a better performance at the gallery."
And just like one more gear, it was all great, of course, but when I just knew they had one more gear, that's where I'd go. If I don't speak up now, I'll forever kick myself. So there was that. Everything was incredible.
Were you at that? I mean, you're a co-writer on almost everything, or on everything, right?
All but one song.
All but one song. Yeah. So was the team that was brought in to produce, because it's a number of people. It's Tim, you, Brandi, Erik Telford, the trumpet player, and Palermo, the drummer. Was that set when you went in, or did that just kind of hash itself out while you were in there?
Oh no, that was all ahead of time. We had plenty of pre-pro meetings and the whole deal. So it was all by design for sure.
Well, and like Eric's area of expertise was to just make sure that its jazz bona fides were right.
Right. Yeah.
Moss had produced me back on my solo record that did so well back in the 90s. And so his rootsy thing was going to be right. And Brandi, just as the creator of all of the songs and publisher of all the songs, and just somebody who knows when my vocal performance is perfect. Because see, one thing that I know you can appreciate, it's like when I'm in the studio, whenever I work with producers and engineers, they're blown away that I sing on pitch. And the thing is, I always sing on pitch, and they'll mistake that for a good take. So
right. So you can fool some people. Notes. Right. But Brandi knows you might have a little more fire in another take.
Right.
And I'll say too, and then we had Tim, because Tim's Tim, and he makes everything sound incredible, and we just wanted to bring his everythingness to the project.
Can I ask
one
you?
Thing I just
can I ask you one quick question about Tim on that? Did you guys bring him in based on his work on that Jeff Goldblum record?
No. We brought him in because he's very sick, and this is like a Make-A-Wish program.
we love him personally. We just love him personally. We were thrilled to have an opportunity to work with him. And the Goldblum thing, I don't even know if I knew that at the time.
Yeah,
I was like, you did that?
We've known Tim for like 15 years.
Oh, okay.
He's just a bro.
From LA.
Yeah.
And so when he moved here, we were like sadly, the first people he knew here. And and when the project just got underway, I reached out to him and said, man, I want you to come see what the guys are doing. I think we're on to something here. And he came and checked it out at the gallery, sat on the couch with me, and he was just like, bloody hell, I love this. And I was like, okay, when we go make a record, you got to help me do this. I'm going to need you on it. And he makes everything sound like it's going to sell a bunch of records. And so we were hoping to have him put that on this. And he was incredible.
When we were all in the back room at Arlyn, because that's the bigger room than the A room.
Yeah. So
we're all in the back room, and it's got all those tiles for it to, all the sounds to bounce around in a great way. And he was just, his whole thing was like, he goes, like I wouldn't notice. He goes, Monte, what if we just moved you into the other room? It's like,
you can still see everybody.
I'm like, no. But then he said, look, we would have to build you a fortress. I said, it'll be great. It'll be like we're kids and playing army. So they built me this little fort of baffles. And really what it was so brilliant of Tim is one thing he did, Johnny, is he went and just looked at pictures of sessions from the 60s that I sent him.
Yeah, Monty would send him. He said most of the time people would send him, before they go into projects, albums to listen to. Monty was sending still shots from sessions from the 60s, going, okay, look how they have this mic'd up. Look how everybody's just in the room. There aren't even any baffles. And he said the whole thing blew his mind. But he built this great little fortress. He had, Monty with that Neumann mic for his vocal here. And then Monty plays his guitar up like it's a bow tie, way up high. So he was freaked out. Tim was freaked out about the bleed and so he's building this little thing to have his vocal mic here, the guitar mic's here. And he's like, oh my gosh. But he figured it all out. I was like, you got to do that. I'm worried about knowing when we got the tape.
And he was
figure out the technical.
And I don't know if you've ever worked with Tim, but he's a, like any artist, any of us, he's an extraordinarily huge Tim Palmer fan. And so he was really, he goes, I mean, listen, mate, there's like no bleed here. He was so proud of himself.
Right. Yeah, he was great. It was such an honor. Oh my gosh, to get to say I co-produce anything with him. I'm like, oh my Lord.
And when we went into the project, he said, okay, so 2 days for tracking. And if there's any vocal thing, you can come over to my place. I went, no, we're cutting this album in 2 days. He goes, but what if? I went, no, 2 days. But one thing that he really had considered, he said till he was in mixing, he goes, because, you guys had played 200 gigs before. Yeah. So you knew this stuff cold.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You knew when to dig in and bring out, Yeah, that's that thing, that 10,000 hours thing that once the Beatles in Hamburg, like the reason why they were so screaming hot on their first record was they had spent months, maybe a year or two, playing 8 to 10 hours a day in front of people. That's a lot, man.
There's no substitute.
Well, and and like a great example of just the opposite of why you want to play songs a while is one of the greatest examples of that is Buddy Holly and the Crickets. They wrote Maybe Baby, and they went into the studio and immediately recorded it because they knew it was a hit. And then they learned how to play it. And there's one example of a live track of Holly and the Crickets playing Maybe Baby. It's in England in March of '58, 4 months after they cut it. And it's so much better than the record because they learned how to play the damn thing,
Yeah.
So I really think it's always important to let a song marinate and get its juices just right and then go cut it. I'm very wary of any big changes on an arrangement. I mean, I've always hated that, Johnny. Like, you go in the studio, somebody comes up with an arrangement idea, you fall in love with it because it's new, and then 6 weeks later you go, we shouldn't have done that.
Good, yeah.
It's on your record. Yeah.
People who write their album in the studio, and you're like, oh my goodness, but that works for them.
That works for them. I wouldn't know how to do that.
Brandi, for those that are listening that are probably hearing you talk for the first time, and I have a lot of
an interpreter. First of all.
yeah. What is that accent?
What is that?
First of all, there's a slew of like gold or platinum records behind you guys. That's pretty awesome, and I have a drawing from Todd Wolfson behind me. That's
we love Todd.
What is your history? You've spent a lot of time, your life in music publishing.
Well, I come from a music family. I come from a family of writers.
Okay.
So my grandparents were gold record writers, gold and platinum writers. My dad was a multi-platinum writer. My uncle was probably the most successful writer in the family, sold over, I don't know, probably 70 million records. My cousin Joe is probably the most commercially successful in the music business. He, engineered all the Alabama records and everything that came out of the Music Mill in Nashville, which was a legendary studio.
And
my great uncle,
your Uncle Hot,
was the first, was at Sun Records. He was Sam Phillips, Sun Records promotion, first promo guy.
And he
engineered Great Balls of Fire.
What?
And all this.
Yeah, her great uncle engineered Great Balls of Fire, I Walk the Line, Folsom Prison Blues.
So I wasn't there for any of that. But to the point is, I've been in studios. I don't have a time that I don't remember being in recording studios, being around songwriters. That's the family business. So, and then, I was never dated writers. I would go out with record producers, but not writers. And then I wound up with a songwriter. But, and I was never a writer.
You wound up, not only did you wind up with a songwriter, you wound up a songwriter.
I know.
And I'll tell this quick side story. So my line always was, well, I didn't get the writing gene. And so in 2002, I started my own publishing company here, which is a whole other side story. Monty cheerleaded me into everything, and I've sold millions of records. It's unbelievable. But I didn't get the writing thing. And Ruth Carter, we were thick as thieves with Bill and Ruth there for several years. And Monty would get together with Bill and Ruth, and they would write, and then I would come over and hear what they'd done. And then I would throw out a line or make a suggestion as a publisher.
Sure.
And Ruth and I were hanging out outside doing something I won't tell. And she said, she took a long drag off something and looked at me and she said, "You say you didn't get that writing thing. Don't say that anymore.
Yeah.
You're the only one that's saying that you're not a writer. And you keep telling yourself that. And that's just simply not true." And it was literally like something lifted off of me and I went, yeah, why do I say that? That's weird. Because I had just decided that. And Monty the whole time kept going, we ought to try to write something, or you have great ideas. And so from that point on, and the way things came up, we just had these projects that would come up, and we were working with other people, and we started writing all this stuff together, and it was just great. I just went, what a dumb thing. I spent all of these years saying, anyway, it's just funny the things that you'll say to yourself.
Well, and let me just break in for a second as the husband and just say, like, Brandi's dad, he was one of those. He was just one of those guys. He was 101st Airborne, and then he played quarterback for the Army. Then he wound up starting quarterback for Mississippi State. He went to training camp for the Redskins. Thought he'd try his hand at songwriting. Sold 30 million records. Just one of those guys that was great at what he did. Well, yonder comes Brandi. She goes into A&R. She's in the A&R department at, the biggest label in the world, MCA Records. Then she starts a publishing company. Less than a year later, she sold 1 million records. She starts writing, and she wrote 11 of these 12 songs. So it's just, there's so much just, I think, just, as you know, just genetic talent. A lot of it is nurture because where your family came from. And in Brandi's family, songwriters just sell millions of records. That's just what happens.
Right.
But a lot of it's nature and a lot of it's nurture. And I just think you were just born with those genes of you can do whatever in the hell you set out to do.
But I do want to say one quick thing about my dad. My dad passed in early January of 2019. Mm-hmm. 17 days before I had to step in the studio and produce this record.
Wow.
And he had gotten a cancer diagnosis, and 3 weeks later he was dead. It was just like, oh my gosh, we didn't even have time to know. And I was just looking at mine and going, what do we do? And I just went, you know what? I'm going to step in there into the studio and step up and do this because Dad wouldn't have it any other way. And so for me, there's so much of honoring him, honoring the family legacy, and the fact that I was able to step up. I didn't fall apart in there. I didn't lose it. I wore my Johnny Paycheck hat. When my dad, one of his biggest hits was Johnny Paycheck hat. I wore my ball cap in there the whole time. And so it's like I had him with me on that. That was a huge thing for me.
That's amazing. That's an amazing story. Plus,
well,
just
and also,
oh no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you guys go ahead.
I was just going to say, in the studio, because it was Moss and Erik and Tim co-producing, they just having worked with Brandi so closely on these songs, and Tim having known Brandi for 10 or 15 years, there was no position of you like being my chick or a chick producer. There were just a great respect. Everybody just respected and understood your role, and it was
no more so than I would respect and appreciate their role.
Exactly.
It's all music.
It was beautiful. Right. Yeah.
Well, with the exception of Tim, you sold the most records in the room.
Exactly. There's a big drop off there, but that's right. Excellent.
That's an excellent point.
Tim is an unnatural amount of a lot of records.
Say again.
His amount of records is unnatural. Like
yeah. It's
we all aspire to match Tim's sales. And my first job in Austin was managing Arlyn. So going back home to Arlyn, having Lisa there, it was just like I was back in the whoopee. It was wonderful.
How did you like working with Jacob Skiba?
Oh, he was a nightmare.
Very handsy. Very handsy. With Monte.
Yes.
Yeah.
He and Joseph were so great, and they speak their own language.
They do.
And it was so great that just, they speak in just those half words, and it was so awesome because when we were, like if a mic needed to be moved or something, you didn't even have to tell them. You could just kind of, just by the sound I would make of just concern, and Joseph and Jacob would be in there and changing the mic out or the preamp, and they just know that room so well. And it's like, and another thing, and you're the poster child for this too. It's just nice when nice happens to nice.
Yeah.
And see those boys win their Grammys and just do so well. And it didn't happen on accident. Those guys are so fucking talented.
They are very talented. And they also have that studio vibe. You know what I mean? Yeah. I love those guys.
And they loved working with Tim. And the great thing was, while we were in there, Jacob and Tim were at the console, and Joseph was behind on the couch. He Googled Tim while we were in the studio.
Oh, because he didn't know who he was?
Yeah. He was, holy shit, man.
Yeah. Tim's discography is pretty over the top insane. It is very...
And jazz, pop, rock, whatever it is, but boy, just that thread of just quality. I mean, he
Right.
makes stuff sound so amazing. Really stunning.
And he's so much fun to work with. He's just one of the cats. You know?
Have you ever done a record with him, Johnny?
I've never done a record with him, but I've hung out with him, and I really appreciate him as a person, and also all of his work.
Right.
Well, but if you hung out, it's just effortless. There's never a crisis in the studio. There's never, he's just laid back and here it is. And then you just wind up, sounding brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me about the writing. So you guys, I know that Black Widow was the first song that you wrote for this, and you had broken your leg. What kind of Casio did you have? I'm a huge fan of Casios, by the way.
Well, it belonged to Glenn Sutton, who wrote What Made Milwaukee Famous and Almost Persuaded. Glenn was her dad's best friend, and so we just wound up with Sutton's BS thing from the 80s.
From Dad, right.
Yeah, I don't know.
He gave it to Brooks.
But I would just, sit there on the couch with that big damn thing. And what I learned so much of is a lot of it was different chords I'd never played before.
Right.
But, a lot of it was also, it might be a G, but it would have a weird voicing I'd never used before.
Right. Yeah.
That you could only find on a keyboard that you can't find on a guitar. And we just started writing these songs and exploring different themes and also like,
When Monte had this idea, he had this vision for this project. We met in the late 90s. He was already talking about it. So apparently he'd had it going back to when he saw When Harry Met Sally and said, somebody's going to write an album like the Conic thing that's going to be all original but done in that style. But he never dreamed it was going to be him.
No, I didn't have the chops. Like when I had the idea for it, I didn't have the chops. I mean, I could barely write a 3-chord song, so
3-chord Monte?
yeah, exactly. That's what the guys call me, 3-chord Monte. When I finally realized, well, maybe I'll do this project. I pictured it like when we started it, Johnny, I pictured it a little croonier. And then when the guys got a hold of these songs and it's wound up being just as gritty and rootsy as anything I'd ever done, it felt so much more natural to me than some departure. And once Brandi and I got into the vibe of it, writing the songs were just, it was so fun. And like we go to McKinney Falls State Park, we run every day. We'll have a little germ of an idea. I'll go run one way, Brandi will go another. And then we'll just come and see if any of the park mojo got on the song. And if it's out of our chordal palette, we'll run over to Floyd Domino's and say, help Floyd, what are we doing here?
But I'll say this about writing this genre versus like writing, because we've been writing stuff for the Wagoneers for the years before. It's so much more exciting because I've likened it to writing country. People think that's easy because it seems a little more pedantic, but I liken it to writing a haiku. You have to say what you want to say and express what you want to express with a fewer amount of words, a smaller vocabulary, and the chordal vocabulary you have is smaller too. So to someone who may not really understand, they may think it's easier, but that's actually a challenge.
Yeah. For
me, it's been a little bit easier to write this because we have the entire dictionary at our disposal. You can't write Schadenfreude and play that at the spoke.
Okay, that's how you say it.
Not that they wouldn't understand it, but that it's just not it's not expected in that genre.
Of course.
And we can use any chord, so it's like you just really have the whole playground at your disposal. It's been so fun. That's been nice.
Well, and just musically, like what I learned listening to all this traditional pop, it's like what if you're going to a big like in a country song or a rockabilly song, a rootsy song. You're going to go to that big release to the chorus. You'll go from the 1 chord to the 4.
Right.
You'll just go from A to D.
Right.
And that's your big buildup. In traditional pop, you'll go from the 1 and your big buildup. In that genre, the same release is actually on a flat 7/9 chord.
Right.
And once you realize the same rules apply, but now you're just playing the flat 7/9, you go, oh, this is what Johnny Mercer was doing.
Right.
This is the 4 chord of jazz. And once I was able to just get in that mindset, it was like I, picked a lock or something. Yeah.
How much jazz did you know outside of the traditional? Because the traditional pop, while it's sort of like the commercial version of jazz, I mean, are you a jazz guy?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, only in regards to the song. I mean, I certainly love, like anyone else, I love Coltrane and Miles Davis and Charles Mingus and the masters. But for me, my heroes in that are the traditional pop writers, the Sammy Kahns, the Johnny Mercers, the Harold Arlyns, and the way they were able to turn a phrase and what Cole Porter was able to do with it, and Irving Berlin, and even like farther back to like, George M. Cohan and stuff. Always those songwriters have always been what have just turned me on more than anything else, and the way those guys, like the Sherman Brothers on the Disney stuff, like Mary Poppins and stuff. Oh yeah. The way they were able to just counter melodies and
lyrical play
and counter rhymes. It's like studying, like some of the master painters, I think, and just trying to write anything that would work on like a Bacharach and David type of thing. It was really so challenging, but it's like, one of my favorite, like the difference between like traditional pop and roots was there's this great story that Burt Bacharach told. He was in a session for A Baby It's You, he and Hal David's first cut, and Lieber and Stoller were producing the record. And Lieber and Stoller did all, they did Jailhouse Rock and all those coaster records and just very, 1-4-5, 3-chord, maybe 4-chord rock and roll. And Bacharach was the band leader on one of these things. And he said, would a major 7th chord kill you guys? And Mike Stoller said, yeah, man, it'd fucking kill me.
And he was right.
He was right.
Yeah.
You don't put a major 7th in Jailhouse Rock.
Yeah, no.
But you put it in close to you, right?
Sure. Yeah. Oh man. So, is there? I mean, you said that you. What was the song that you wrote that you said you looked to see if anyone else had written the title? Was it Anything But Love? Is that right? No.
No, it was Spring into Summer.
Okay. Right. Spring into Summer.
How has that not been? We were like, here we go. Because you look it up on BMI or ASCAP, and they'll say there's 3,000 titles.
Right.
Not that matters.
Not that.
I just want to make sure it hadn't been a huge hit.
Right. And so, because we were writing something, and I came into some title for Brandi, and she went, what was it? She went, are you fucking kidding me? It was like
he has there's a whole blind spot area of 80s mainstream pop he has no clue about, or
right.
So he'll have to come to me and go, is this been a hit? I go,
Yeah, like I'll come and say, is this anything? It's called the Macarena.
Yeah.
Or something,
No one likes it. Is this good?
Right. So we when we started writing Spring into Summer with Love, we just went, okay, certainly that's maybe that was a Dean Martin record or Bobby Darin. Nothing. So we just wrote it as close to a Bobby Darin song as we could, because we couldn't believe it hadn't been taken yet. Like the biggest hit we've yet had, like Desperately. I don't know. Literally, there's like 2,000 songs called Desperately. But only one's been a number one, and it's ours. But you still want to make sure that you're not stepping on some lyrical toes.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Brandi,
Okay, we're back.
What is your dad's name?
Phil Thomas.
Okay. Phil Thomas.
Yes.
So you come from the songwriting Thomases.
Yes. His biggest hit he wrote was the B-side of Take This Job and Shove It.
Oh.
A song called Colorado Kool-Aid, which is a hilarious recitation that Paycheck did. And it is a platinum single. It's 6 times platinum single, not streaming, physical sales. So that came out when I was in 3rd grade.
Wow.
So we were off to the races with that. But he's had cuts by George Strait,
Randy Travis.
Randy Travis, Alabama, Barbara Mandrell, just all, all of them.
Yeah.
And 3 chart records for Johnny Paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel? I know that this isn't country music. Where's this going to go? Like what genre is this? Is there other people doing this kind of thing that's
I thought
new?
you were going to provide that for us.
Dude, I don't know if I've told you this before, Monty, but I'm not lying. In the time of MySpace, I didn't know what to call my music, and I saw French pop as an option, and I just thought that sounded so cool that to this day, it's in my stuff. Like, people have kept it in there. French pop artist Johnny Gowdy. In fact,
that's so great.
Charlie Sexton calls me French pop artist Johnny Gowdy. So,
how could he not?
Yeah,
I think I'm just going to start calling you French pop.
Yes.
I don't know what I do. So
Right.
what is it like? Where does yours fit in this time? I mean, you're obviously working this record. You're putting this single out. You've got like local places that'll play it. But are there radio stations or radio programs or satellite radio stations that play new music from this specific traditional style?
Well, here's the great thing is like the best thing going for it might be the hardest thing going for it is no one's ever made a record that sounds like this before.
Right.
So that's great because if it hits, I'm the only place you can find it. But one thing because it shows how little we know about anything,
Mainly me.
we went into this project going, if we catch lightning in a bottle, it'll be through syncs. It'll be through radio, television, television, film, or advertising. And we know it won't be radio. We said that going in, which is so stupid. Why should we limit ourselves? And in the 2 weeks, literally 2 weeks, since people have been getting passed around the CD, radio stations have started playing it organically. So now we've hired a radio promo person primarily for Americana.
Right.
A straight up country station has played it, and
like the country, Country 95 in Waco, whatever the hell it is.
Wow.
Played here Kitty last week.
2 days.
Yeah.
So God bless.
Yeah.
And the KUTX here played it.
But I do know this from the gigs. People have come up for 2 years now and gone, where do I find that? What do you call it? And I go,
yeah.
I just call them great songs. It's like one of the promotion people called it jazz for the Americana crowd.
Yeah, I called it that.
Oh, what was she saying? A Maritini. That's what it was. She called it a Maritini.
Yeah. You got the martini song to go with it.
Yeah.
Because it's just martini music's what I always called it, but there's not a chart for that. So I don't know. I just know people love it. But, Pace Magazine said Warden has created a sound that never before existed.
I think they were talking about me and not you.
I'm Warden. Anyway, so we're just go, all I know to do is we write the best songs we can. We captured it the best we could. The guys played it the best we could. And the rest of it, I can't figure it out beyond here. I just got to put it out there and go.
You've been to like 20 shows. Everybody digs it. So that's all. That's the only kind of music I want to make. It's just music that everybody digs.
Yeah, and I every time. I mean, obviously the musicianship is incredible. The songs are incredible, but there's also this uniqueness that I was just about to say. When I took my brother to see you guys a couple years ago when he came to town. It was my brother. He was like, you said, oh, and I wrote this song with so-and-so. And he's like, he didn't write this song. This sounds like, and I'm like, I guess that's what traditional pop is. It's,
right.
You can sing along with it.
Well, you're supposed to be able to,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
That's the job is we want to write Brandi and I want to write the best songs that, because this from doing gigs your whole life is you never want it to be obvious when the band is doing an original because it's the shittiest song in the set, So
yeah,
you need your originals need to stand up to any covers, and then hopefully you can just transition to doing all originals that people want to hear. And it's so weird. I'll put it this way, man. It's like I've had a beautiful, wonderful career that I had dreamed of as a kid, doing country and rockabilly and roots music. if you had told me that I was going to be 53 years old
Right.
and make the most original sounding music of my career, I'd have called you a liar. I can't believe I'm here right now. It's amazing.
That's something interesting to talk about because I've been noticing as I get older, I'm like, you get better, but it's not a 53-year-old guy's, the main part of the mainstream business is not cut out for us. You know what I mean? At
Never
this
has
point
been.
in our lives. Right. You're right. But you actually get better as you get older. You know what I mean? I mean, there's plenty of examples that we see all around here. People like Alejandro Escovedo that we've watched grow from, same thing as you, guys that have just gotten better and better and better. I mean, would you say that in your heart you feel like these are the best songs you've ever written?
Yeah, no, they most certainly are the best songs I've ever written because Johnny, where you and I have a similar experience was we were both kind of coached and we got to apprentice under some pretty great people when we were kids, and pretty great performers. And like I always tell people, I was 20 years old, I guess, when I got to be friends with Guy Clark. And Guy's 50 then, he's my age now. And his focus was just to get better. Right. And so if Guy Clark's trying to get better, I damn sure need to try to get better,
Right, yeah.
And so it's fun right now because Brandi and I, because, it's so cyclical, but right now the songs are coming easier than not. And we're loving writing these songs. And not that it should matter, but it does. The reception to the record has been humbling. I mean, we just can't believe what's happened so far. And so we're just...
Because you don't know. You go, we dig this, right? You dig this. And then you're all in the room and go, we think this is great. But you don't know if you're just all a bunch of weirdos.
Right. Yeah.
Well... it's been amazing.
It's a little different when you make a record in 2 days, but both of you, I have this thing where there's, I need to chart it out at some point physically. There's like the emotions you go through making a record. Like there's you're listening to playback of something, you look at everything. This is the best record I think ever made by human beings. Yeah. And then literally 3 days later, listening to the same song, same mix and everything, you're like, we've destroyed everything. You know what I mean? Why are we even doing this? Let's just go home. Yeah, this is terrible. Can we start over?
It's like one of these things, like, I can't remember what song Tim was mixing, but there was something that was just some drum thing or whatever. It had just flown all over me. It was just like, I cannot hear it like that. Can you do this, that? And Tim had to go out to L.A. and he came back literally like 5 days later, not like a long time, like 5 days later. And he emailed me, or no, he texted and he said, I'm going to get to the blah, blah on whatever it was, Here Kitty Kitty or something. And I had no idea what he was talking about. 5 days later, I had forgotten that this disastrous thing had disappeared from my record.
And so it's on there?
It is or it isn't. I have no idea what I was talking about. I was so upset about something. And I cannot tell you what I meant. Or he fixed it. I don't know. Right.
Yeah. Is there, I mean, you guys have you've been working on this band for a long time. You've been working on these songs for a long time. You made the record essentially a year and a half ago. It's going to come out a year and a half after you made it. Releasing it during this time and kind of like, obviously you probably had other plans for how you were going to release this or what was going to go down. You didn't realize that the world would be on lockdown when you chose this release date.
Well, we thought about moving it, and then we just went, no, people are going to want to hear music. And just from a business aspect, I started noticing a lot of our contemporaries, not so much in Austin, but I just mean just throughout the industry, we're starting to put out records about this time, songs written like darker songs.
Right.
And I just went, who the fuck wants to hear
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
I think the Dangerous Few record is a wonderful respite of any of that. I'm not saying this stuff isn't going on, but I don't need a record to remind me that it's going on.
Yeah.
And I think if only one person wants to put out a positive, fun, mid-century modern sounding record, let it be me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the world does need that. I'll tell you something funny that happened to me like a month ago. I was looking for something to watch on Netflix, and I went into their top 10, and Outbreak was like the number 3 movie. And I was like, who are these people that are like, I got to see this movie about the worst case scenario of the situation I'm in?
What would this be about? What would this be like? Step out your front door. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. Just go outside. It's happening everywhere. So
Right.
what plans do you have that like, as far as like, how do you work a record under this? I mean, obviously you're getting some radio play. You're getting on the greatest podcast ever made.
Clearly.
There's
That's
a
step
lot.
one.
How did I get here?
But there's
Wait a
other
minute.
stuff. I know Steve is holding off on opening the Continental Club, but when it does open back up at whatever percentage it does open back up, you'll be back up there on Thursdays, you think?
Oh, absolutely. As long as they allow 5 people,
Yeah.
that's the band. As long as they allow the quintet inside. And you know, I'll certainly live stream those shows for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to keep doing the live streams Friday nights at 7, because, I mean, and the record's not even out yet. This is just only pre-release, only compact disc, just from the live stream. We sold a lot of dang record CDs out of there. And I just think for right now,
and they're loving it.
you
They're
know,
loving it.
the one thing that kind of leveled the playing field is we really weren't set up to tour because the record's not out yet. Nobody outside of Austin knows who the hell we are. And actually nobody's touring right now. So we're not competing with any of that traffic.
Right.
You know,
See, Monty's the most optimistic person, so it doesn't matter. Whatever's going on, we're making the best of it, and it's going to work out for him. I'm just telling you.
You know, both of you guys are great people, but Monty, you've always been you're just you're like a love. That's what you are. You're like a person that I'm never been sad to see you. I've always been
go fuck yourself, Johnny.
He is that person. I mean,
Yeah.
he wakes up that person. People stand by me looking at him and starting. He goes, he just seems like he's just so enjoying himself. I go, are you kidding? That's what he loves doing more than anything. And he loves waking up and being alive. I told somebody at the Spoke the other night, they were talking about his positive attitude. I said, it's like being married to a sparkler. He's just like, woo! He's just so positive
Yeah.
and happy all the time. It's really annoying.
Yeah.
No, it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Well,
So,
you know, but think about it, man. You and I both, since we were teenagers, have gotten to play music for a living.
Yeah. We're really lucky.
It's a miracle. The
Yeah.
whole thing's a miracle, you know. And so I'm just grateful
it's all
that
great.
it's all great.
Yeah.
It is. And to get through this time, we're healthy. Everybody we know and love is healthy, and it's just, you know, I'm looking forward to everything.
That's good. Are you guys? You're still writing? Because obviously,
No, we stopped that.
Writing.
We sold our pencils.
I've heard a couple of different things throughout this quarantine time. And I'm in that boat. I've found it very hard to.
Oh, we've been writing. We've
Yeah.
written
Yeah.
several,
We-
about half a dozen things.
That's
But you
great.
know, also because we have several things that we've written since we've recorded the record, because it's been about a year and a half, and throughout this time, we know how to write with one another. You know, Brandi.
And I'm his publisher. He has a quota.
Yeah, exactly. Or I'm scared to death, or
Yeah.
she'll fire me.
I find that the quality is better if you have a quota.
Oh, clearly,
You're right.
it's fair to have. It's a quantity-based business, but no, seriously, we know how to write with one another, and we
Know when to write.
know when to write and when not to, and I've actually through all this time, because we write so much at the park where we run, and we've always had access to that throughout this whole time.
Yeah.
The creative hadn't hadn't really changed all that much for us.
Because we're so blessed that we've turned toward each other. We're always turned toward each other, and that thing has never been broken or stopped. Or we've been so blessed to have each other in our family through everything, and so that circuit of love and creativity has just continued on, no matter what's going on. So we're very blessed, very aware of how blessed we are on that.
And one thing that like Bill and Ruth taught us, like Bill would always say when he and Ruth would write together, is one of the favorite parts was at the writing appointment. Like if you were stuck or something, it didn't just end at 2 and you had to book it again. You're living with each other.
Right.
And if sometimes the mojo, goes across the street for a little while or something, you can just wait for it to come back. And Bill and Ruth both taught us that as a married couple writing together, that it's so perfect because
you're always sanding.
You're always sanding on to make a song better. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's like when a band lives together or something. You know what I mean? There's something magical about that.
Only we get along.
Yeah.
Are you glad you don't have to go out and play, Brandi? Are you glad that you don't have to be the one that has to do the...
I can't even fathom that, because if I had any marketable talent in that way, I'd probably love it. But I can't, it's like, are you glad you don't have to go flap your arms and fly? I don't know. I don't have that. I have no idea.
But I can say this: her dad could not play.
Oh, he was Navin Johnson in regards to rhythm and time.
Right. But a brilliant songwriter. Now, Brandi can actually play pretty well write.
He thought I was Chick Adkins.
Yeah,
My dad could not believe how well I could play, and you would not think I could play.
But in regards to singing, it's almost like it's old school, Tin Pan Alley, Brill Building, or old Nashville, where Brandi sings like a songwriter, not a singer-songwriter, but somebody that just sings well enough
to convey what I'm trying to. Hey, what about this line?
Right.
But I would never go. And now I'm going to book some shows.
Yeah.
Show that. But if we were sitting down writing, I would have to, do that. But my dad booked shows, and he would be the star of the show. He couldn't sing, he couldn't pick, and he was one of the most entertaining people you've ever seen.
Because the songs were great.
Songs were great.
Yeah.
My songs were great. I don't have that thing, though. He had the thing.
Right.
He had the it thing.
Right.
Is there what?
But yeah, but like those old, those publishing house writers, whether it was Hank Cochran or Harlan Howard or Jerry Goffin up in New York, or even Carole King, because nobody thought Carole King could sing. They weren't singers; they were just brilliant writers. And now, or Boudleaux and Felice Bryant, they couldn't play or sing, but they wrote, all I have to do is dream and Bye Bye Love and let it be me.
But it's funny because I was talking to Mitch Ballard here. Was it I talking to him or were you talking?
No, you.
Well, I was talking to him about the head of BMI. It's so interesting now that BMI is so much about the Austin office. I guess everywhere because I live here, so I see it. But it's about they'll book in the rounds, and so the focus becomes on. To get on that, you have to be able to sing. Well, I mean, I guess so, because otherwise, but like in Nashville, you would go to in the rounds and it was writers doing their songs.
Yeah.
So didn't think you were going to go in there and hear anybody that was going to make a record. You were going to hear at the source how these songs came out. And then we'll go to writers' things, and it's all like singer-songwriters, people that are making records. And I just go, it's so different. And Mitch went, you've blown my mind.
Right.
I said, I'm not pitching me. I can't imagine ever doing that. But it's just interesting. The focus from solely writing to you get counted as a writer if you can get on stage and perform it as well. It's a whole other talent. And
I think like you look at Elvis Presley or Jim Reeves or Patsy Cline or George Strait, brilliant singers. Sinatra.
Not
Johnny,
a songwriter.
You're right. Dean Martin.
Yeah.
None of those guys. Nat King Cole never wrote their own
And God
song.
bless them, because my family of songwriters needed those people.
Of course.
So they had a place to place these songs.
There were singers, and then there were songwriters. And And the only people that wrote their own songs were black rhythm and blues singers and country artists. Like Hank Williams and Chuck Berry were expected to do it, but like a Frank Sinatra never was.
Right.
And really the first one to do it was Buddy Holly, and his label had him use a pseudonym.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to hide the fact that he wrote his own songs.
Yeah.
Because a big star has songwriters do it.
That's
Right.
providing material.
It's so crazy, but I think now with, everybody that's had a guitar for 6 weeks thinks they're a singer-songwriter. There are singers and there are songwriters, and I just think,
And sometimes they're both.
and sometimes they're both.
But you don't have to be one to be the other.
And I
No.
would just think, if somebody's great strength is singing, but they can't write, let them go be a great singer.
Yeah.
And we will find you some great songs. Hey, breaking news, I have some great songs for you.
Yeah.
But just go be a great singer. Or if all you can do is write, but you can't sing, I still think you ought to be able to have a career as a writer in this
Right.
business.
But it's hard because how do you get them to people?
Right.
That's
All of that
That's
stuff.
a whole other conversation.
That's another show there, Johnny.
That's another episode.
That is another show. I had
How
a
do I get there from here?
yeah. How do I get there from here?
You can't get there from here.
That's another
Your
one.
podcast. You can't get there from here.
It's funny. I had a very interesting experience that I think sort of helped me with my getting a publishing deal, like in the late '90s, where I was on a songwriter in the round that Desmond Child hosted for ASCAP and Warner Chappell, and I was kind of a last-minute audition. It was in Miami, and it was all those guys that sit in the room all day, but I was a guy like in a band. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I mean, these guys are like incredible songwriters, but like, as far as the performance goes, you could tell what dude was like on a stage a lot and what guys were in just a room a lot.
Right.
It's interesting.
Yeah, but I would challenge that. You also got that deal because you're a great fucking writer too.
Yeah.
You didn't get your deal on
Oh,
accident.
yeah. No. I did. I mean, I'm sure it was because of my writing as well, but I feel like in that thing, like, I had known, I guess I had known about it. I didn't really know a lot of just straight up songwriter guys, I mean, here, the people that do write songs are usually people that are performing them as well. They're writing with other people. Anyway, I have a question I've been wanting to ask both of you, each of you guys. So, Brandi, I'll ask you first. What is in your sort of like recent listening collection that might surprise somebody like myself?
Well, my go-to that I always go back to that I have to put on when I'm alone is Tupac.
Okay, there you go. Any particular?
not.
Yours is not?
Picture Me Rolling. All the, Picture Me Rolling, California Love, all of that. I'm down with all that.
It's a great.
All of the 90s rap stuff. That's
Right.
like that was my power music. So that is my surprise of that would probably be no one that knows me would be a surprise, but that might surprise you.
What about you, Monte Warden?
He's more of a Dre.
Yeah. I'm more of a. Is
The
this
Chronic.
Right? I'm more of an East Coast
Yeah.
rap. Did I do that right?
No.
I would say, and because I've only discovered it just in the past 2 years, but the Duke Ellington, John Coltrane duets album on Impulse that Bob Thiel produced is as great a piece of art as any song, musical, painting. It kills me, and the closer I listen to it, the more blown away by it that I am.
Okay, that's a smarter answer than mine. I too am into that.
Oh no! You answered yours.
With Mingus, I went deep on Mingus, and I didn't know about him until we started writing this stuff, and I kind of started going down into getting into all of this, and Erik Telford, the trumpet player, was kind of guiding me through some stuff, and I found Mingus and lost my mind because we had a lot of Charlie Daniels records growing up and Willie, so there wasn't a lot of Mingus.
Not a lot of Charlie Mingus.
So I've gone deep on that, but that's my personal that people do. interesting. But you always got to out damn smart.
Well, but the whole time you were answering, I got to think about my answer.
Monty spends his time listening to the Dangerous Future.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of Wagoneer stuff. So.
How do you, Brandi? How do you? Both of you guys are in publishing and songwriting. What does the streaming world? Is it a threat? Is it a drag? Is it, oh look, you can get money in perpetuity for a song? Have you guys heard that? You guys know Jana Pokop?
Have we heard of who?
Jana Pokop. She's a songwriter here in town. She wrote this whole thing about how we can, like, obviously the streaming services are here, but say you sell a song for 99 cents on iTunes, when iTunes was a thing, you get your 49 cents from it, right? Or whatever it is your cut is from that. Right. And that's it. And then she's saying that with Spotify, while you do only get a very small percent, if the song is played as much, you know what I'm saying? Like if somebody plays that song 10 times a day for 10 years, you'll make way more than those 49 cents. Do you subscribe to that? I mean, because
for us, for like in streaming since January 1st of 2018 is a different economic model than the 15 years previous, because with the Music Modernization Act, now streaming has to pay songwriters for the first time in a comparable way to terrestrial radio.
Right.
Yeah. But for the first 15 years of it, it was just sanctioned theft. I mean, from like, I tell people this way, it's like in 2005, we sold our little publishing company in 2005, just for that year, we sold 2 million records, which is great. That's a good year. In 2007, though we had more success, chart wise and stuff, we sold fewer than 100,000 records. So our business, because of streaming of the first 15 years of it, was decimated. Our house took an 80% hit. I don't know any other business that can sustain an 80% loss of income. And what happened was we're hustlers. I returned to the stage and realized I love being on the stage and I'll never leave it again. But a lot of songwriters just wound up working at Home Depot and stuff. And I'm talking about people that sold millions of records.
Yeah.
But with the Music Modernization Act, and and this is a law they tried to get passed. It was first proposed in 2006. I don't think Bush was very interested in it because he didn't really understand that we didn't understand the level of decimation. President Obama was never interested in getting it passed because big tech has to pony up and pay. And finally, the reason why I think it was passed in 2018, and it passed the Senate 96-0. So this is bipartisan support for this thing, was people finally realized 15 years of songwriting and publishing being decimated, that the streaming services had to pay. And the reason why the streaming services were willing to come to the party was they were threatened with having to pay billions of dollars retroactively.
Right.
Back to the day they signed on. And what the executive and the legislative branch of the government said, you won't have to pay retroactively, but you just have to pay everything going forward. And that's how, at a higher rate. And that's how Spotify and Pandora and all those people came to the party that are willing to pay songwriters now. So since January 1st of 2018, when the Music Modernization Act went into effect, streaming is a different conversation because immediately our performance checks jumped like a third immediately.
That's amazing.
It's still not what
right.
And it's still not what it was before they started screwing us. But more is always better than less.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I mean, it's great that they did the Music Modernization Act, but we're praising them for giving back half the money because we lost our sales and our performance.
Right. Right. And it's like we're saying, thank you for beating us less.
That is what it's
and it's
like.
just that, to me, you know, and you're an artist too. It's just the devaluing of the art, and you don't want to sound precious about it, but at the end, what is the motivation to create? We value it. You know, I buy music. If I want music, I buy it. I don't do the streaming thing. I can't stand it. So, you know, I'm really relegated to listen to the records I own, or then I'll go buy new ones. But if you value something, pay for it, just like you would anything else. Otherwise, there won't be the incentive to create new or to create new quality.
Yeah,
or you're
right.
going to
I mean,
wind up getting what you pay for.
It
And
costs.
it's just going to be.
It costs money to go into Arlyn and have
Right.
Tim Palmer and Jacob Skiba
Right.
and Joseph.
And
He's the
that's
prices.
just the cost to do it. That's
Yeah.
not the cost of
Oh yeah.
keeping the lights on while you're trying to just get creative. And so if, you know, being a patron of the arts is just such a huge thing that we talk about in our circles, is always buy the music when you can. You know, don't, you know, same thing, I'm sure, you know, just always buy the music. If you don't ask to be on a guest list, it's always the people with the most means that want to be on the guest list, because it's like a status thing. And you do the math. You're paying $5 to get in here. It's an 80-20 split, and there are 5 people in the band. Look what they're getting. You pay to get in.
Yeah.
Give to the arts in any way that you can. We would never ask for something for nothing. But when you can buy the music, buy the music. It makes all the difference, and it allows creators to continue to create so we can all enjoy it. We are huge fans of music. That's why we do what we do.
Well, but I'll also say that every single time we've had this conversation with people, I mean, like civilians, fans, they're always, oh my God, of course I'll pay. It's like they're shocked, because I think because music is invisible. It's like a painting you can see, a book you can hold, a movie you can go watch. But music is just, it's in the air, it comes in your ears, and it's part of your memory.
Right.
And their music is so personal that I think people are shocked that they have to pay they're expected to pay the creator of it, because they sing when we're born, they sing when we're married, they sing when we're buried.
Yeah.
And I think it's so personal that people think they own it.
Right.
You know, and I think that there's
And you can for a price.
but people don't mind buying a T-shirt or going to a gig because they see the act. But if it's just the music and they can just click it and get it because it's their music.
Right.
And always people are so surprised that somebody wrote that song and should be paid for that work.
And that's how, and I'm third generation in. This is how generations of my family have fed their families.
Yeah.
Solely.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like when Brandi first started her publishing company back in 2002, we still had her grandma. And her grandma would, you know, she'd call from Tennessee, and she would know, you know, the royalty schedule because she was a songwriter.
Yeah,
You're getting hurt.
Yeah, she goes, well, now y'all got that check coming in October, and that'll be off the trip record. That'll be good. You know, it was really cool.
Yeah,
Her grandma.
Yeah, good groceries a couple times a year. And the rest of the time it was my money. No fun.
Yeah. But she would know, okay, they had this Travis Tritt hit. All right, that was 9 months ago, so they'll just now be seeing the money for that from your grandma. Whereas, you know, everybody in my family was like, do you get paid for that? You know?
Yeah. Well, man, it's been great catching up with you. Oh, I did want to say the record's available on CD and on vinyl.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all digital platforms, June 19th.
June 19th. Yeah.
Yes.
My sister's birthday.
Oh,
That's
One
why
of
we
my
scheduled-
sister's birthday. I know. I'll tell her that.
Please.
You guys, okay, is the vinyl out now? Is it?
No. Everything's June 19th. The
Okay.
CDs are pre-order, but everything's on June 19th.
And there's one single out, right? It's Black Widow.
Yes, Martini.
Oh, it's Martini is out. Sorry.
Yes.
Let me write that down. All right. Is there anything I'm missing? It's been great
No, I
talking
think
to you guys.
covered it all. This will be the last
great.
interview I ever do.
Jesus, don't say that. We're old now. That's not funny.
Hey now.
Brandi, it's been great getting to know you a little more. And honestly, man, Monty, I'll tell you this. In 1997, when my band Gowdy was getting together, we had a guitar player. And I was talking to AJ one day, and I said, I don't know if I'm going to keep this guy. He doesn't follow my rule of where your guitar sits when it hangs on you. And AJ was like, what's that? I'm like, well, it's got to be low enough. You just got to be able to see the belt buckle. And so one night, AJ and I went to go see you guys. And AJ just hit me and was like, how are you even friends with this guy? And I was like, you can see his belt buckle. He actually plays it high enough. He's not in the middle.
There it is.
He's totally cool. He's, in fact, we're the opposite guys with our where we put our guitars.
Right.
But yeah,
one's below the belt, one's above.
Yeah. Hey, the belt's still showing, long as the buckle shows.
Amen.
You've always been a great inspiration to me, Monty, and I really do care about you and love you a lot. And I know that when you say things, when I see you at places like, hey, do you need anything? Shawnee Kilgore and I had a whole conversation about this. You said that, and then you said, I love you, and you walked away at Continental Club Gallery, and she looked at me and she goes, he means that, doesn't he? And I was like, yeah, he does. He means he did, because I've always felt that way about you. You're very sincere. But I hope that when this lockdown ends up, I get to spend more time with you guys, quality time, because I'm very blessed to have you in my life.
Oh, and we love you the most. Yeah. And yes,
we'll have you over. I'll make chicken and dumplings.
I would love that.
Yeah,
it's a done deal.
Yeah. Also, is that your Martin behind you?
This one's mine, and that one's Brandi's.
Oh yeah. Looks like yours has almost got those trigger holes.
Yes, yeah. It's just, it's a guitar. You play it. I've had this one since I was 11, and the 51 that's Brandi's used to be mine, and it was the first guitar she could ever really easily play, and well, she's written some great stuff on that stuff.
Come over and I'll shittily play it for you.
I would love that. Yeah. I would love that.
Yay.
Well, I love you guys. Everybody get out there. This record drops on June 19th. Monte Warden and the Dangerous Few, produced by Tim Palmer, Brandi Warden, Erik Telford, and Mas Palermo. Great job, you guys. Amazing.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you
the
guys.
most.
Love you guys.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks for doing the show.
The best bet for wet bikinis or extra dry martinis.
Monte and Brandi Warden. Monte Warden and the Dangerous Few's brand new album, debut album, available June 19th. Available everywhere, wherever it is you stream and download your music. It was produced by the great Tim Palmer, Brandi Warden, Erik Telford, and Mas Palermo. And, of course, engineered by the fabulous Jacob Skiba, one of my favorite dudes over there at the Arlyn Studios. Always great to talk to Monty. Always great to talk to Brandi. What wonderful people. A couple of days after we did this interview, I was walking up wearing a mask. I saw another dude wearing a mask. And I was like, hey. And he was like, I know who you are in that mask. He knew who I was behind the mask. I saw him at the post office. That's where I saw him. All right. Anyway, guys, check out this record. It's absolutely fantastic. It's going to take you back to a time. I don't know. I think this is a record that needs to be out right now. People need this kind of vibe. Monty spreads a feel good vibe everywhere he goes, including every Friday night on Facebook at 7 p.m. the Monte Warden Feel Good Hour. So check that out on Facebook, a live stream. Just go to Monte Warden and thedangerousfew.com for all of your Monte Warden and the Dangerous Few needs. Get this record. It's absolutely fantastic. And gang, when you're out there checking out Monte Warden and the Dangerous Few all over the internet, don't forget that you can find this podcast wherever it is that you stream podcasts, be it Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Anywhere you find podcasts, you get a new show all the time from me, all right? I want to thank Monty and Brandi for being on the show. Lovely, lovely people. I absolutely love them. We need this record at a time like this. Thank you, Monty. Thank you, Brandi. All right. You guys have a good day, whatever it is you're doing. Let's get down.
Make more martinis. just what it is that whets their appetite. Martini drinkers on a summer night. Shake, 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 martini. Cause a stir, martini. Make more martini. Shake, martini.